Good morning, Virgo. Welcome back to Virgo. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. Um, this is a collective love message, so take what resonates and leave the rest as we dive into who's thinking about you. So, there's someone whose thoughts keep returning to you, and it's not the casual kind of thinking. It's the consuming kind, the kind that interrupts their focus during mundane tasks, the kind that makes them pause mid conversation because your face just appeared in their mind, the kind that wakes them up at night and keeps them scrolling through old messages or looking at photos they've saved. And in those moments, in that private space where no one else can see, they're completely undone by how much they want you. And it's not just physical, though that's part of it, it's everything. This person sees you in ways you might not see yourself. They notice details you think are flaws and find them endearing. They watch how you move through the world and find grace in gestures you consider ordinary. They replay things you've said, finding layers of meaning you didn't intend, and in their mind, you've become this composite of 1,000 small observations that have accumulated into something they can't stop thinking about, something they've convinced themselves they need. Some of you might sense this already, might feel the weight of their attention even when they're trying to play it cool, might notice how their energy shifts when you're near, how they find reasons to be in your space, how their eyes track you even when they're pretending to focus on something else. There is a sense of hunger here, not desperate exactly, but intense, like they've been starving for something and you represent sustenance in a way nothing else does. And that hunger, that depth of wanting, it might scare them because wanting someone this much gives that person power, makes you vulnerable, creates the possibility of rejection that would actually hurt rather than just being a minor disappointment. Um, and maybe that's why they haven't been direct about it, why they've been circling, testing, dropping hints, creating situations where connection could happen without them having to fully expose how much they want it to happen. Because if you knew the full extent of what they feel, if you could see inside their head and heart and body when they think about you, it would give you so much leverage. And that's terrifying for someone who's used to maintaining control. This reflection invites you to consider, how does it feel to imagine being wanted with this kind of intensity? And does it draw you in or make you want to run? It's possible this person has tried to talk themselves out of you, has created lists of reasons why pursuing this doesn't make sense, why you're not compatible on paper, why the timing is wrong, why they should focus on other things. And maybe some of those reasons are even valid, but none of them change the fact that when they see you, when they talk to you, when they imagine what being with you would be like, all the logical reasons disappear, and there's just this overwhelming sense of yes, because attraction at this level isn't rational, isn't something you can think your way out of. It's chemistry and mystery and recognition all tangled together. And this person is fighting a losing battle trying to make their wanting you make sense. It doesn't make sense, it just is. There's also something here about exclusivity, about how for this person, you're not one option among many. You're the option, the one they measure everyone else against and find them lacking, the one who set a standard that makes other potential connections feel flat and uninteresting by comparison. And that singularity of focus, that way you've eclipsed other possibilities It might be part of what makes their wanting feel so intense. It can seem as if they've tried to date other people, tried to be interested in other options, tried to convince themselves that you're not the only person who could satisfy whatever it is they're craving. But nothing works. No one else creates that particular alchemy, that specific pull. And so they keep coming back to thoughts of you, fantasies of you, hoping that somehow, eventually, the circumstances will align in a way that makes pursuing this possible. Some of you might be wondering what specifically they find beautiful about you, and the answer is probably layered. Yes, there's physical attraction. The way you look obviously matters. But there's also something about your energy, your presence, the way you make them feel when they're around you. Maybe you make them laugh in ways other people don't. Maybe you challenge them. Maybe you see parts of them that others miss. Maybe you're just comfortable in a way that's rare and precious. And beauty, real beauty, it's not just aesthetics, it's that intangible quality of being compelling, of drawing people in, of making them want to be near you, know you, have access to whatever it is you have that feels so vital and alive, and you have that for this person. Whatever your specific combination of qualities is, it works for them on a level they can't fully articulate. This reflection invites you to consider, what part of yourself do you most want to be seen and appreciated? And would this person be capable of seeing it? Yeah. There's vulnerability in wanting someone badly, in not being able to hide your desire, in feeling transparent in ways that make you self conscious. And this person might be managing that vulnerability by trying to appear casual, by not texting too much or too eagerly, by maintaining some distance, even though everything in them wants to close that distance, by playing it cool when they feel anything but cool. Um, and you might have misread that coolness as lack of interest, as them not caring as much as you maybe hoped they did. But what if the coolness is protection? What if it's armor against the vulnerability of wanting you as badly as they do? What if every casual text took them 20 minutes to write because they were trying to sound effortless when they feel anything but? Yeah. It may feel as though there's an inevitability to this. Like, regardless of logistics or timing or circumstances, you and this person are going to end up connecting more deeply at some point. Not because fate has decreed it, but because the pull is strong enough that it will eventually override whatever's keeping you apart. And maybe both of you are already aware of this on some level. Already know that this thing between you is going somewhere, even if you're both pretending it might not. And that knowing, that sense of inevitable collision, it creates its own tension. Because part of you might want to just get on with it, to stop pretending, to acknowledge what's obviously there and see what happens, while another part might want to delay as long as possible to preserve the delicious tension of not quite having, to exist in possibility rather than risk disappointment in reality. Some of you might be in situations where this person is genuinely unavailable, where their wanting you badly doesn't change the fact that pursuing it would be complicated or harmful or impossible. And if that's true, if there are real barriers, not just imagined ones, then their desire, however intense, might not be something you can or should act on. because wanting isn't enough. Feeling intensely attracted to someone doesn't entitle you to them, doesn't mean the connection should be pursued regardless of consequences. And sometimes the most mature thing is to acknowledge attraction and then choose not to feed it, to let it exist without acting on it, to respect the barriers even when everything in you wants to cross them. This reflection invites you to consider if this person's desire for you is real, but the situation is impossible. What would honoring yourself look like? There's also something here about worthiness, about whether you can receive this level of wanting without immediately doubting it or looking for evidence that it's not real. Because if you're not used to being desired intensely, if your past has taught you that you're not the kind of person people want badly, then being faced with someone who does want you that way can feel disorienting, can trigger insecurity, can make you question their judgment or wonder what they're not seeing that would make them want you less if they knew it. But what if you just let yourself be wanted? What if you didn't interrogate it or minimize it or push it away out of discomfort with being desired? What if you just received it as information about how you affect this particular person and allowed that to feel good? It can seem as if this person is building something in their mind, a fantasy of what being with you would be like. And fantasies, by their nature, are idealized. They don't include the mundane difficulties of real relationship, the ways people disappoint each other, the boring parts, the conflicts. So there might be a gap between who you actually are and who they imagine you to be. And that gap could become a problem if you do get together and reality doesn't match the fantasy they've been nurturing. Um, but that's their work to do, their responsibility to manage. You can't live up to someone's fantasy of you because fantasies aren't real. All you can do is be yourself and let them decide if the reality is something they want as much as they wanted the idea. Some of you might feel pressured by this level of desire, like it's too much, like you can't possibly meet it or match it, like their intensity is overwhelming in ways that make you want to create distance rather than close it. And if that's true, if their wanting you feels more like burden than gift, you're allowed to say that. You're allowed to not want to be wanted this way. You're allowed to prefer something lighter or slower or less consuming. Because not everyone wants to be someone's obsession. Not everyone finds intense desire flattering. And your comfort with how someone wants you matters as much as their wanting. This reflection invites you to consider what kind of desire actually feels good to you, and is this person's way of wanting you compatible with that? There's beauty in being seen as beautiful, in knowing that someone looks at you and sees art, sees something worth wanting, sees value you sometimes struggle to see in yourself. And this person, whatever else is true about them, they see you that way. You matter to them. You occupy space in their internal world. You're not just another face in the crowd. You're specific, you're chosen, you're wanted, and there's power in that. So, whether you choose to do anything with this information or not, whether this connection is something you want to pursue or not, let yourself take in the fact that you have this effect on someone, that you're beautiful to them in ways that matter, that you're not invisible or forgettable or ordinary in their eyes. You're extraordinary. And that's worth knowing, even if nothing else comes of it. Stay clear about what you actually want. Stay honest about what you're available for. And remember that being wanted badly by someone doesn't obligate you to want them back the same way. You get to choose, always,